This female rapper has just been sentenced to death for killing 872 people, but what she said to the judge about her children is worrying. The rapper's rise began in the neighborhoods where gang ties shape most young men's futures. He was known for mixing street codes into his music, using his lyrics to describe crimes he had lived or witnessed. That authenticity drew attention, but it also tied him closely to a life that eventually led to his downfall. He joined a local gang in his early teens, seeking protection and belonging. By the time he turned 18, he was already involved in robberies, assaults, and drug distribution. His reputation in the streets grew as he proved his loyalty through violence. At the same time, his music started to gain traction online, where fans praised him for being real and unfiltered. As his rap career developed, he balanced the spotlight with criminal activity. He released several mixtapes filled with references to shootings, robberies, and loyalty codes of the streets. For his community, he was a symbol of toughness, but to his rivals, he was a marked target. Videos showed him surrounded by his crew, flashing weapons and throwing up gang signs. He continued to perform at shows, even as police kept close watch on him. Despite warnings from his family to step away from the streets, he remained committed to both the music and the gang. His mother and siblings often asked him to think of a future beyond crime, but he brushed them off, claiming that the streets were all he knew. This rapper kept up with his criminal lifestyle until he was soon tied to a violent shooting that left several people dead. Surveillance footage, witness testimony, and social media posts placed him at the scene. Investigators also discovered that he had bragged about the crime in a song recorded shortly afterward. His own words, meant to boost his reputation, were used as evidence in court. During his trial, prosecutors described him as a rapper who lived exactly what he rapped about. They detailed his involvement in organized crime, showing jurors how his songs lined up with real-world shootings and drug deals. The defense, however, attempted to argue that his lyrics were only artistic expression, but the overwhelming evidence of his gang connections outweighed that claim. As the trial progressed, his family filled the courtroom, hoping to show support. His mother cried during testimony, while his siblings sat quietly, staring at the floor. He, however, kept his eyes forward, rarely acknowledging their presence. For him, showing weakness in front of his crew or rivals was unthinkable. Even in the face of a possible death sentence, he kept the hardened image he had built. When the guilty verdict was announced, the courtroom was silent except for his mother's sobs, and shortly after, the judge sentenced him to death, citing the brutal nature of the crimes and the lack of remorse. Still, he ignored his family and merely stood up with his hands stretched out as he waited for the marshals to take him out of the courtroom. In prison, the rapper continued to carry himself as a gangster rather than as a son or brother. Letters from his family went unanswered. Phone calls were ignored. Instead, he chose to communicate with fellow inmates and gang associates on the outside. His family tried visiting, but he rarely agreed to see them. For him, maintaining loyalty to the streets mattered more than reconnecting with his blood relatives. While on death row, he focused on his image. He gave interviews where he spoke about gang loyalty, the code of silence, and refusing to betray his crew. Reporters also noted how little he mentioned his family. When asked directly, he would often dismiss the subject, claiming that the streets had raised him more than his relatives ever could. Other inmates noticed the way he distanced himself from his loved ones. Some admired his dedication to the gangster code, while others questioned why he chose to die without reconciling with his family. Still, he continued believing that turning to family after living by the streets would make him look weak. As the day of his execution drew closer, prison officials allowed one last opportunity for family visits. His mother waited, hoping for a chance to speak to him, but to the shock of everyone, he still declined and sent word that he had nothing to say. This final refusal completely showed how deeply he had committed to the identity that once made him famous, but eventually destroyed him.